Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something really fascinating. We're going to decode the exact state of our world in 2026. We're taking this massive, somewhat chaotic pile of global data, rankings, and headlines, and we're going to distill it down into a clear snapshot of exactly where humanity stands right now.
But first, I want you to think about something. How do we actually measure human progress? Usually when we see these giant lists of current affairs, we kind of brush them off as just cram material for competitive exams like UPSC or banking. But honestly, the truth is so much bigger and way more interesting than that.
Staying updated with these specific reports, from the Human Development Index to broad economic and sustainability metrics, isn't just about memorizing trivia. It's how we track our collective pulse as a species. This data is literally the dashboard of our civilization, telling us exactly what's thriving and, well, what's failing.
Look at this breakdown. When you see categories spanning everything from global defense all the way to local state news, the sheer volume of info can be completely overwhelming. But the secret sauce to absorbing it all? Finding the patterns. Grouping this massive ocean of data into clear, focused buckets is exactly how you turn pure noise into a really compelling story.
So, to make sense of 2026, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit global crises and alarms. Second, global wealth and influence. Third, India's tech and strategic moves. And finally, sports and cultural highlights.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Global Crises and Alarms, looking at the really heavy metrics defining 2026.
3.4 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is nearly half the planet currently caught in the 2026 global housing affordability crisis. We're talking about billions of people facing fundamental insecurities about where they're going to live. It's this massive tectonic shift that's fundamentally altering the global economy right before our eyes.
And the strain isn't just on modern living either. It's actively eroding our past. A shocking new UNESCO report just raised a massive red flag that 90% of our World Heritage sites are currently in danger. The pressure on our planet from climate issues and rapid urbanization is quite literally washing away the physical foundations of human history.
And these macro pressures eventually trickle down to local health and safety too. Recent NCRB data reveals that Bengaluru actually recorded the highest suicide rate among major Indian cities. Combine that with massive environmental threats, like a severely rising UV index that's being tracked as a hidden health risk across the country, and you start to realize these aren't just dry statistics, they're urgent cries for real intervention.
Which brings us to Section 2, Global Wealth and Influence. Brace yourselves, because we're looking at a deeply contrasting world here.
What's truly wild about 2026 is how we pivot straight from global deficits to this explosive, unimaginable wealth. The juxtaposition here perfectly captures our stark economic reality. On one side, like we talked about, you have 3.4 billion people struggling in a profound affordability trap. But on the other, you've got rapidly expanding billionaire clubs and the ultra-elite completely dominating the Time 100 most influential people list.
Just take a look at the latest Her Rich list. Elon Musk is still clinging to the absolute #1 spot globally, while Mukesh Ambani comfortably dominates Asia. And, proving that cultural royalty pays off incredibly well, Shah Rukh Khan has made a triumphant return to the list. Meanwhile, India's exclusive top 10 richest club, it literally just keeps getting bigger, acting as this insulated bubble of extreme growth.
But the face of all this immense wealth is definitely evolving demographically. The top 10 self-made women billionaires list for 2026 shows women aggressively shattering glass ceilings. They aren't just participating in the global corporate landscape anymore, they're completely redesigning it from the ground up, proving that the future of global business is fundamentally shifting.
Now, let's pivot to Section 3, India's tech and strategic moves. The rapid national development happening here is off the charts. The sheer volume of innovation happening simultaneously in India right now is just wild. Adani Green just fired up a massive battery storage project over at Khavda. Out in Rajasthan, Oil India struck a brand new gas-bearing zone in Dandewala. Look up, and an Indian scientist is actually leading the discovery of the ancient Loktak protocluster deep in space. All this incredible momentum is catapulting India's universities straight up the QS World Rankings at unprecedented speeds.
And getting even more granular, Indian scientists just achieved a major healthcare breakthrough called Clear Technology. It's a state-of-the-art protein imaging platform. So why does this matter to us? Because it's essentially the golden key to precision medicine, unlocking hyper-tailored medical treatments. It is an absolute game-changer for personalized patient care.
Over on the defense front, it's a massive race toward the future. The Indian Army recently launched the Kautilya and Q-Force platforms to supercharge their AI-driven warfare capabilities. But here's the fascinating irony of it all. At the exact same time, the nation is aggressively scaling up its cybersecurity to protect against the severe vulnerabilities of, advanced AI. It's this high-stakes balancing act of wielding a weapon while simultaneously building a shield against it.
All this domestic innovation really fuels a highly calculated diplomatic strategy. Let's break it down. Step 1. Target an ambitious India-Canada free trade agreement by 2026 to deliberately reset economic ties. Step 2. Lock in major green tech partnerships at the 3rd India-Nordic Summit. Step 3. Launch a dedicated semiconductor investor support portal to completely dominate domestic chip manufacturing. It is an absolute masterclass in securing global power.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, Sports and Cultural Highlights, the lighter but deeply impactful side of 2026. This is where soft power really shines. PM Modi continues his masterclass in cultural diplomacy by heavily showcasing indigenous tribal art as gifts to world leaders. Meanwhile, Khajuraho is prepping to host Yoga Mahotsav 2026. We're seeing deep cultural reflections in politics too, like Shivraj Singh Chauhan launching his political memoir, Upnapan. And on a purely local level, Karnataka Gramina Bank just secured a major national PFRDA award for grassroots pension performance. It's all about projecting local pride onto the national and global stage. And then there's the raw, undeniable energy of the pitch. 65. That is the staggering number of sixes smashed by Vaibhav Suryavanshi in IPL 2026. With that bat swing, he didn't just win games. He officially dethroned the legendary Chris Gayle, literally etching his name into cricket history. No way, right?
But tracking something like the IPL Orange Cap list for the most runs actually perfectly mirrors those earlier global indices we talked about. Think about it. Whether it's a nation's Human Development Index, expanding billionaire clubs, or pure cricket runs, humanity is fundamentally obsessed with measuring peak performance. We always want to know exactly who is at the top.
And that brings us full circle. Staying updated on massive crises, extreme wealth, pinpoint tech breakthroughs, and key cultural milestones, that is how you understand the ground shifting beneath your feet. The story of 2026 is written entirely in this data. So the final question isn't just what will you do with this knowledge, it's this: are we using all this data to actually build a better world, or just a more measurable one? Thanks for exploring this with me today.